What's on Tap is brought to you by Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the NFL. Sundays are easy to enjoy when they are full of football and the fridge is filled with beer. And we're going to make it even easier for you by taking some of your best questions. This one from Regular Ed. Hey, Matthew Berry, I am starting Etienne, but need two other running backs out of Uncle Rico, Jalen Warren, and Javonte Williams. I think Warren and Williams have the higher floor, but Uncle Rico has an astronomical ceiling. Your thoughts and advice would be greatly appreciated.
That's about as polite a question as I think.
Your mentions don't look like that too often.
No, sir, they do not. I don't think you can screw this up, Regular Ed, because I like all three guys. I have all three guys inside my top 12, but by my rankings, I have Dowdle at 6 and Warren at 10, so those are my answers. Now, again, I have Javonte Williams at 11, but Dowdle and Warren to me. First off, Dowdle, of course, just the workload here. In his 4 starts, he's averaging 27 touches a game. They do not want Bryce Young throwing the ball, right?
Nope,
and since week 5, Falcons allowed the most fantasy points to opposing running backs. They're giving up almost 150 rushing yards a game. And then Jalen Warren, who's been so involved in this offense. I mean, first up, like you saw that Jalen Warren made the love list this week at Cincinnati. They've given up at least 16.9 fantasy points to a running back in every single game this year. Literally every single game this year, including to Jalen Warren himself when they played earlier in the season. So I think that's the answer is Dowdle and Warren. I like Javonte Williams as well, but just a little bit narrow. Las Vegas kind of played plucky defense last week, and so anyway. You have to nitpick here, but all three should have big games.
Yeah, and the Raiders' rush defense with Max Crosby still there is not a turnstile. The Raiders are able to limit Jonathan Taylor to one of his most inefficient days on the season. Now he scored 3 touchdowns against them, but he wasn't efficient in terms of yards per carry. So I agree. I think it's Dowdle and Warren.
Our next question comes from Prince Sarcedo, 8392.
Do you think he's a real Prince?
Absolutely.
Okay.
DK Metcalf or Wan'Dale Robinson? Can you believe if someone showed you this question in August?
Yeah, I mean, it just goes to show you how nutty fantasy football is, and specifically this season, that this is a real question. And more importantly, that this is the real answer. Wan'Dale Robinson. Right? I mean, I have Wan'Dale Robinson at 23. I have Metcalf at 29. 3 of the past 4 games, Wan'Dale Robinson's had at least 11 targets. Since week 6, he's averaging almost 14 fantasy points per game. You know Jameis is going to sling it, and you're sort of looking around. Who's he throwing it to? Wan'Dale Robinson has become the leading wide receiver of the Giants. Metcalf has been fine, but it's weird. Like they target. And I get the matchup, but what's weird is that Cincinnati, for all the flaws of the Bengals defense, DJ Turner's actually had a nice year. Yeah, they actually have done a good job against number 1 wide receivers so far this season. And so Metcalf didn't have a monster game against them the first time they played. He's not a huge target earner. Like, you're basically hoping that Metcalf makes his fantasy bones, as it were, on 3 to 4 targets. Like, he's not a guy that's going to get 8 or 9 targets in a game. They're going to be able to run at will. They like the tight ends. I don't know.
The Rodgers offense is just a tough watch for wide receivers.
Yeah, every tight end on the 53 scored a touchdown against the Bengals.
Right. Darnell Washington is an offensive tackle playing tight end.
That's right.
So, and Rodgers still kind of prefers him. Our last question comes from the _real commish. Lawrence and Matthew. This is for you guys.
Call Lawrence.
I'll go read this from far away. Pick 2 flexes PPR: Swift, Woody, and Etienne. Hashtag snapping necks, showing anks.
Yeah, I like it. Okay, fair enough. Obviously.
What do you think?
Well, I am showing my anks, and I'm sure Lawrence, wherever he is snapping his neck. But I think it's Swift and Etienne for me. I have Woody Marks at running back 20. So, again, you see it there on your screen. I like all 3 guys. I have them all as RB2s this week. But even though we liked what we saw out of Marks in terms of the usage and the production, Nick Chubb is still hanging around. Yeah. Games on the road to Tennessee. They're off of a bye, so maybe they prepared a little bit. There's always a chance that Chubb vultures a touchdown. But Swift has had 5 straight games, I should say. 5 straight games with at least 14 or more fantasy points. He's been a top 6 running back on a points per game basis since week 5. And then Travis Etienne just quietly has a massive workload. 45 touches over just the last 2 weeks. He's got only one game this year where he's had less than 15 touches. So you're sort of guaranteed a floor there with Etienne.
What do you think, Jay?
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. I think that Etienne, I mean, it was such a difficult matchup against Houston last week. The Chargers are not an easy matchup either, but it is a little bit less imposing of defense. Woody Marks is really interesting to me, though, Connor, because that's the best that he has looked. And I think a lot of that is about the Jags defense, but they're playing the Titans defense. Like, what do you think the ceiling is for Marks?
I have some big thoughts on him for pickup lines.
Okay.
And I think he's somebody that it's nice to see him turning into a natural running back, not just a third down pass catcher. So I think the ceiling is growing for him. And We'll have more of that in our last segment.
But again, I mean, you saw, like, I had those 3 running backs within 5 spots of each other.
Yeah.
Like, I
It's
mean,
tight.
like, they're
Real
all
tight.
They're all right there. They're all top 20 running backs for me this week.
I thought it was instructive with Marks that Nick Chubb, every single one of his runs was a successful run against the Jags, and they still went to Woody Marks over and over again, so they believe in him.
To the eye test, he just brings an explosiveness that they don't have with Chubb at the moment.
That'll do it for What's on Tap, presented by Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and RotoWorld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest RotoWorld fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.